Really nice to talk to you. Obviously, I've got to say, I am really excited. The two singles that you have out at the moment is completely the Bally Sagoo stamp that I remember. So congratulations on that. I've got to ask you, what is your inspiration behind this forthcoming album of yours?
Well, I mean, I think it's basically what I've always done all my life, really. Make music that I enjoy, that I like. And I'm glad you said that, it's got my kind of like signature tune on there. I've kind of tried to go back to that 90s vibe, Kinna Jona, that's got that 90s vibe. The new Bhangra song, Bhangra Jawan Ho Gaya, that is a very typical Desi Punjabi Bhangra song, weddings, birthdays, you name it. It has that very auntie, uncle kind of a sound as well. So I kind of kept that kind of a vibe going from old school and didn't want to complicate it too much. But I think, yeah, I think that's what it's supposed to be like. It's supposed to be like an old school vibe. And that's what people are really enjoying right now because it's a breath of fresh air, really, when you hear kind of something like this, kind of like retro and old school.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when I think of your name, I think of the absolute East-West fusion king kind of thing, and I think you've maintained that. But at the same time, as you've said, your inspiration was to keep that sound going. Have you found that your inspirations in terms of back, like you've had a career spanning 2 decades,
Three
have they
decades.
changed throughout 3 decades? Yeah, have your inspirations changed, or is the root of it still the same?
No, I think just like anybody else, really, whether you're you're a chef or something or whatever, I think you just keep going every day and you keep sort of experimenting and keep sort of, I enjoy making music and I've never stopped all my life. I've been doing it, since I was a little kid at school. For me, it's always been about like, I make music for myself first that I enjoy, and then I hope that everyone else likes it. And yes, with a big catalog of music behind me, I've done a lot of different tracks for different audiences because I don't just do one type of a sound, and I've never wanted to do that. I have some great big ballads that I've made, and I have some Bhangra songs. Then I have the Bollywood style ones, and then I have all the reggae and the fusion. So as you can see, I've kind of always mixed up all the sounds that I like myself, more importantly, really. So every day I'm still, being inspired. Every day I'm still sort of, experimenting.
So that's actually leads me on to my next question, actually, because I wanted to know, after having obviously 3 decades, as you say, what do you find still motivates you?
Well, I think the most important thing is obviously speaking to people like you, going around the world, people that enjoy my music, and they're always saying, when are you going to have some new music? Bally, when's your new album coming out? And blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, that's what keeps me going more so. And obviously I'm always, traveling, and I'm very rarely in England. This is the long time after there's such a long time I've spent so much time because of the lockdown. But otherwise, yeah, I'm hardly ever here. And when I go around the world, then that's what really motivates me. And people start saying to me, hey, we really enjoy such and such song, and we really enjoy this kind of thing. A lot of people always kind of say to me, do the same thing again. And you can't do that same thing again. I think that's just natural with a lot of different artists, I mean, you can't redo that same time zone, everything in that moment of time, because it was a special point in everyone's lives. That's why they connect to a certain song. So what I try to do is, okay, I get an idea what you're saying. You want a song like that vibe. You like the Bhangra vibe, or you like the mellow vibe. Like people say, you should do Churalia again. And I'm like, how could I do Churalia again? And you should do such and such song again. I'm like, well, it won't be the same thing, but I know what you're saying. You mean do a new version or do something else? And then I'm like, okay, possibly, but um, I like to give obviously new songs. I like to give new music, and so you can hear what else I'm able to do and what I'm capable of doing. Just like these two tracks that have just come out from my new album. They're fresh new tracks, but they still have a very old school vibe to them. There's something there when soon as you play it on the radio, it just sounds like a retro song, and that was my motivation. I really wanted that to happen. So when people saw the video as well of Kinna Jona, they said it looks like a Bollywood 90s kind of a music video. And I'm like, yeah, like out of a film. And I'm like, wow, that's exactly what we wanted to try to create. And I'm glad you said that, because it would have been bad if it didn't happen like that. But yeah, we wanted to make a retro type of a love story, a very big video. And that's what we went out to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just about to ask you actually about the video, because you've kept the kind of earthy feel, as you say, but it literally is retro. And I think that's the thing that kind of I associate you with as well, because I remember the kind of tracks that you had, your Bollywood flashback albums, all this kind of stuff. So you've had obviously different kind of experiences. You've had experiences in Bollywood, you've done the fusion, you've had some British experiences as well, like for example, Top of the Pops. Who can forget that? So I've got to ask, when you look back at your journey, do you have a kind of a standout point, an outstanding kind of point where you remember that bit and thought, you know what, I'm actually here?
Well, I mean, there's been many amazing moments in my career so far that I've kind of always look back like, wow, I'm on stage, Michael Jackson concert, and I'm on Top of the Pops, something that I was a little kid watching, and everyone that grew up with Top of the Pops know how important that program was to us. And I remember telling my mom and dad when I used to sit on the sofa and I was like, 8 years old, I'm like, I'm going to be on Top of the Pops one day. And my mom and dad were like, "Chop, gotta get, come, got it on that." And I was like, one day I'm going to be on Top of the Pops, man. And obviously it took a long time, but yeah, that kind of like was the first step, like landing on the moon for an Indian song to be on Top of the Pops. And when I look back at that, and I'm thinking, wow, that was such a groundbreaking moment. And then obviously, when the president of India congratulates me and calls me to the palace, and then it's even more like, wow, our Asian music is going global, man. And yeah, there's been so many great moments that I can't really say this is the one. Really, there's so many of them that have got so much importance to me, really, for my journey, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you've been part of the entertainment industry. I think Fresh Dope, I'm not sure what year it started in, but you're still there and that's what it's still coming out with. And you've got people like me who know you from obviously before, but you've got obviously the new younger generation as well,
Yeah,
who will
yeah.
now still kind of learn about your sound and maybe look back. So what if you had to choose the kind of tracks that you've had and want them to kind of look back at, do you have any particular tracks that you think, you know what, this was my defining, or a couple of defining tracks that kind of are my stamp?
I think that's not really for me to say. I think it's what people should say, what they identify with. I mean, it's nice when I meet all the younger kids now, and when they say, "Oh, we like a certain track," and I'm like, "Do you know that was made in 1991?" And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, they don't know half of these things. Like Gurunaish Matai made it in 1991. Um, so Churalia is 94. And so there's a lot of tracks that are going back in the time, but they actually don't sound like they're that old, to be honest with you. They sound like they're a bit more, not so old. They might be like 8 years old or 10 years old, but yeah, some of these tracks are like 30 years old. I mean, so there's been a lot of different moments that I'm like thinking, well, that track, that track, that track, which have now become what we say retro, really. But I mean, those kind of songs connect with different people, like all sorts of different kids, just like you and me. They're like different types of songs. Somebody might like a Bhangra song, somebody might like the mellow songs like Dil Cheese, and those are my serious productions. That kind of I feel I shine on more so because I like doing those kind of a really epic mid-tempo ballads and like the Nooris and stuff. Aapki Nazrones. I think that's what I really enjoy more so. And I think more serious listeners prefer those type of songs. But the thing is, I've always tried to make something for everyone. I've always tried to cater for everyone, really. I mean, uncle, auntie, and the young kids at school, and even the Western audiences. So that you can get to a reggae track like Meralongo Acha is a completely an outright reggae track with a rap on there with Cheshire Cat. So I mean, the youngsters get into that kind of a vibe a lot. So there's a fusion there that they want to hear. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, the one that I remember is Kabhi Kabhi, and it's really kind of just stayed with me, because I love that track anyway in its original form, but
Yeah.
to have a different version in the way that you did it
Yeah.
was absolutely amazing, absolutely
Yeah, I mean, I
amazing.
completely flipped
Um,
it. So yeah, I would completely change it around, and that was the whole idea. And it was my idea to get Amitabh to do his old deep intro on the song. I mean, because obviously, um, it was a new twist to the song, and then obviously Sadhana Sargam did the amazing vocal, really. And I had all those monks in there, and I had all these different sounds in there, and yeah, I mean, that's like what 1996. So yeah, I mean, obviously that was a great moment as well. Amitabh Bachchan in my studio in Birmingham for so many months working with me.
yeah, I've got to say that remains my absolute favorite of yours, and I think it will remain so. So I've got to ask you, in terms of your journey and when you look back now, is there any changes that you see that you think, oh, I didn't think it would be like that, or any changes that you see that you kind of think, oh, this is a great thing?
Well, I mean, I'm glad I didn't listen to my parents and become a doctor or a lawyer. That's for sure. And I think they agree with me now. But I mean, I think everything happened for a reason, and there was all these difficulties that came along the way, and I kind of overcome them. There's always been these little, hurdles that I came across. No, we don't play Indian music on the radio, or no, we don't play Asian music in our clubs and bars and blah blah blah. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll go back and change that. So I really uh, sat down and kind of thought, okay, well, we've got to break down some of these barriers and show people that, hey man, our music isn't just tablas and sitars, and it's not just background music in a restaurant. And so I mean, obviously we wanted to I wanted to make all these different flavors, and I think that was important for me. So I think every day, every time I was growing up, I'm glad I didn't give up, because there was moments obviously when I was thinking like, uh, you know uh, this is really difficult, this kind of a crossing over, and why is it so important? It was really important because we wanted to get our music across to a bigger, wider audience. Like a film director, he wants his film to go international. He wants everyone to see his film. You don't want to make a song and say, this is only for these people, it's not for you. I mean, that's not what music is ever about, and it shouldn't be about, really. I don't think, okay, this is a Bhangra song, only the Indians are going to like it, or the Asians are going to like it. It's like, hell, man, everyone can jam and jump up and down and get into it. And that's what happens pretty much nowadays, but it wasn't always like that. I mean, I remember going to India back in the days, and the clubs in India didn't want to play Indian music. They were like, we don't play Indian music in nightclubs, man. We play disco, and we play, all the dance music and R&B, hip hop, and blah blah blah. And then I said, okay, well, you want to play this record, man? And then I thought, okay. And when they heard my mixes I was doing, they were like, whoa, because it was catering for that sound system. It was catering for the club. Hence, I thought, okay, all I got to do is put Indian vocals on here, and then make it, serve it in a different way. Like my dish will be just a slight fusion. And obviously that's what worked for me, really. And hence, I think everything just catapulted and, started going crazy, and Spice Girls giving me award, and, all these things are just like left, right, and center. People are like crossing over, and Jazzy B, Soul to Soul. He's like, I really dig your music. And Michael Jackson's whole group and his whole entourage are all going mad to my tracks on stage. And I was like, they don't understand half of the words in these Indian songs, but they're loving the vibes, man. And that's the best, feeling, when like, you don't understand this song, but you're loving the song, don't you? And they're like, yeah, man, we like this vibe. And it's like always about the vibe.
Absolutely, absolutely. But even now, if you look at it now, I think now obviously we are on the map, so to speak, and I think you've played a really big part in that. But at the same time, the inspirations that people have and the kind of influences are always changing. So do you find that today it might be a little bit harder to leave a stamp, so to speak, because everyone's kind of everywhere, really?
I mean, that's a very, very good point. I mean, I think it's a very valid point, because today the scene has become so different now that it's difficult to stand the time now. It's like keeping your flow going for many a years. I mean, a lot of artists are not going to manage to keep going for a few more decades. It's going to be more harder now. Same in Bollywood films, man. And it's the same with actors. So it's a lot more difficult now, and I think that's because it's become so fast now. People can make music overnight. They can do a video quickly. They got internet now. They got all the software tools to help them sing in key. So there's a lot of things now that can enhance you. And all I say is, it's just like having filters on Instagram, to put on your music, so you can disguise a few things and make it look a bit more sweeter than it really is. And you can only do that for a certain amount of time, that's for sure. Like anything else, some good things will stand the time. Some songs will keep going for quite a long time, but it's going to be a lot more harder for artists today to keep going for decades. That's for sure, because the race will keep changing very fast. I mean, the industry will keep changing quickly, trends, styles. A lot of people won't be singing for another 20, 30 years or making music for that long. It's just, one of those things, really. And I think that's what shows the test, really. Like, wow, only good things, certain things will stand the time. And to have classic tracks that will stand for pretty much ever is a really big task, man. And that's really, what shows your stuff, if it's gonna, if it's gonna be big.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, as you've said, the internet and social media has come into play now. So it is really so much easier to kind of filter your voice or whatever and just put out a 15-second kind of video. How have you kind of kept up with social media, so to speak? Because now you've got fans who have almost direct access to you as well. So how have you found that?
Well, I'm still struggling with it because I'm still old school. I mean, I'm not very much on Facebook. I mean, I don't know. I don't really I'm not clued in with all that stuff, and I'm glad really because it doesn't ruin my life. I don't really ruin my life. I don't run my life around that kind of stuff. I just do what I've always done, like make my music. Here you go. You like it? Oh, okay. Make my music. There you go. So that's what I keep doing. And it's like a chef in a kitchen, man. And I just keep doing my thing. And I'm like, there you go. Do you like this? Do you like this? Do you like this? And I don't really want to keep paying attention too much about what's happening on the social media side of things. I mean, I know it's helpful and I know it's like it's got its advantages, but for me, it's not everything for me. It's not everything to me. I think, it's like, why change my formula that I've been doing all my life? And I've had so many, songs that I've like connected with people. You will hear my song. If you like it, you'll like it. If you're not, maybe you'll like the next one. So I think that's the
Yeah,
important thing.
absolutely.
And you're never going to please everybody anyway. Everyone's taste is so many different. I get people saying to me, don't do Bhangra music. And I'm like, why? They're like, we don't like Bhangra music. Then I get the other ones who are screaming in my ear, like, we like Bhangra music. You should do Bhangra music. Then I got the ones that do Bollywood music. We like Bollywood. I'm like, whoa. I'm trying to do everything, do something like that or do something like him. I said, first of all, I don't want to do something like him or her. I want to do something like what I want to do. And also, I have a bit of a track record. I mean, you do realize I have been doing this for probably before you were born. So I don't really, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but it's not the most important thing to me. My most important thing is to do what I enjoy and what I like making. If I'm going to be making music in the studio, if I'm going to be always worrying about, oh my God, this, I won't do my thing, will I? I'm like, just let me do my thing, and then hopefully you'll like it. If not, maybe the next one, and so on and so on. Really, it's always been my same motto. Really, I mean, obviously I'm very old school, but then why wouldn't I be?
Yeah, it's true. You've kind of been through your own journey, so why wouldn't you be?
Yeah, I paved my own
Um,
path. I made my own journey. I traveled my own journey. I'm traveling, doing what I want to do, and then my music is how people connect with. And luckily for me, the majority of them really, really love what I do. They kind of have that much sort of, faith in what I do. They're like, we like what you do. We like the way you serve it. It's not really my style, but the way you serve it up, I like that kind of sound and I like that fusion. And it makes us even like it. Like the Kawali stuff I've done with Nusrat, the different fusions of different things. Like you may have not liked this, but you like this, or you don't like that. You like this. So that's always been my main test, I suppose, to see, okay, Tika, I get an idea what you're saying.
yeah, absolutely. Is there anything you can tell us about any forthcoming tracks you've got coming out from the album or the album itself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for the new album. It's coming out very. We're just finalizing the release date now. It's all ready. This was the second single, Bhangra Jawan Ho Gaya, which is the Bhangra song, which I was really, wanted to get out as soon as possible because I know everyone was starving of Bhangra music because it's been long time since I did Punjabi Bhangra music. I've done so many other things. So I thought, okay, so yeah, now that the second single is out, the album is just around the corner. We're just fine tuning it up now and just like, just getting the release date. It's all because of the whole lockdown businesses cause of a major issue for us, traveling. And I mean, I couldn't even be in the other video. I wanted to go to India and shoot and be in the video. And they were like, you can't go, man. You can't go to Heathrow Airport, forget to come to India. So I'm like, okay, a lot of delays and all these things have happened, but the album obviously it's just ready. I mean, it's just coming around the corner really, and there's some really good things on there. I'm sure there's something for you. There's something for everyone. There's all types of vibes on there. A bit of this and a bit of that really. So it's a combination of different things, and it'll be with you very soon.
Oh, we look forward to that. I think the final question I just want to ask you is obviously we've spoken about some of the amazing things you've had happen in your career. If you wanted to give any advice to someone who's wanting to get to come into the music scene or anything like that, from your experience, what would you say in this day and age? What would you say to them?
Well, I think it's brilliant that now we have so much available to us that we don't need to go into big fancy recording studios. People can sing and write songs from home in their own comfort of their own, settee. And it's really important to master your craft. Really, I mean, if you're going to sing, you really need to practice at it. If you're going to produce something, you need to spend a lot of time on it. You're going to have to uh, fight a very sort of strong game at the moment now because there's so much amount of people releasing left, right, and center. And you've got to ask yourself, do you want to release something that just gives you quick overnight little bit of fame and glory, or do you want to make something long term? I think albums is the right way to go and concentrate on making albums really, rather than just one song and think, why, that will keep me going for the rest of my life, because it won't. And I think that's important. But utilize definitely all the different tools are available today. Really, it's become so easy now. You can make a beautiful song even in your home nowadays, and it can do so, so great. And a lot of experimenting, a lot of practicing, a lot of time spent, and be patient, because it will take a long time to see the results of what you're doing now. I mean, it took me like what, almost more than 3 albums to get my name across. So I mean, the early days, I was just doing it to get my name out, and one by one, it was slowly happening, but I wasn't seeing it until down the road. And so it was just night and day, night and day, night and day. And it's obviously, it was a very big struggle. But I think today people have got the potential of doing a lot of good things. There are people out there now that are really experimenting, collaborating over the internet with people sitting across the other side of the world. We didn't have that. So it's all it's brilliant. Like, I can sit with a guitarist now who's sitting in Italy and say, play me some Italian, vibes on this Punjabi song, and it's like, you couldn't do that before. So there's a lot of potential to do some good stuff now. I think so.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for talking to me. It's been lovely talking to you and kind of reminiscing a little bit, but also looking forward to your new album whenever it's here. As you say, it's coming soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you enjoy it. I mean, I think if you like the old school and you like a bit of the new school, then hopefully that should be right down your street, So yeah, absolutely. It's coming very soon.
Absolutely. It sounds like it's completely going to tick that box of mine, definitely. So I'm sure.
I hope so.
Thank you so much. And I wish you well for anything you have coming up, even beyond the album. And it's been lovely talking to you. Thank you so much.